One of life's greatest pleasures is a nice big I told you so moment, and today I get to wiggle my finger and celebrate one of these beautiful situations. However, I'll be honest, it's bittersweet because it's something I wanted to be wrong about. This is less of a celebration and more of just some sadness. It's about the whole Reddit situation. I've made 2 videos covering it, so I don't want to just keep vomiting and regurgitating the same points I've already made, but basically, Redditors were striking due to some changes Reddit made in terms of its pricing, which fundamentally shuts out third-party apps, which are very popular for Reddit. So in response, the community privated like 10,000 subreddits, which basically shut down Reddit for a whole day. The protests were only scheduled for 48 hours, which is really silly to give them an end date. They basically had an E3 announcement where they had a press conference saying, we're protesting on this date till this date, and that's it. Which is kind of a weak threat. It reminds me of that shit out of Simpsons where it's like, I'm gonna swing my arms really fast, and if you run into it, it's your fault if you get hit. It's not a very powerful threat. It's not a ton of pressure on Reddit since they know when it's gonna stop. 2 days. So they just have to grit their teeth, bear it for 2 days, and then it's back to business as usual. And the Reddit CEO recognized that, pretty much just laughing in their face about it and spitting on them, saying like, yeah, we'll just wait 2 days. We're not changing anything. They are sticking to their guns. The Reddit CEO, Steve, has said that it's their business decision, and they're not going back on it. This is a picture of the Reddit CEO. I always like to bring up an image of him now because I just can't believe that he literally looks like the mental image anyone puts in their head when they hear the term Redditor. It's like he was created in a lab to embody Reddit as a whole. Like, it looks like he is the product of a million years of fine-tuned evolution to become a Redditor. So Steve Huffman just said, we're just going to wait it out. Some of the subreddits in response said, okay, fuck you then, we're going to stay offline forever until you change this. And now Steve Huffman has once again played hardball and did exactly as I speculated he might. Steve is threatening the Reddit mods that are protesting, but he's not threatening their life or anything like that. He's threatening something much more important than a Reddit mod's life: their power trip. He is threatening to remove their moderator status of the subreddits if they don't reopen, which is legitimately a Reddit mod's worst nightmare. Not having the ability to ban users they don't like in a subreddit for a job they do for free. That is an incomprehensible, cruel, and unusual fate worse than death. So Steve went straight for their throat. He knew what the most important thing to a Reddit mod was: that power trip. If a moderator team unanimously decides to stop moderating, we'll invite new active moderators to keep these spaces open and accessible to users. And I'm certain they still won't be paid for it. I don't know where he's going to find those moderators. I don't know if he's holding open auditions or tryouts to be a Reddit mod. But I guarantee you probably won't see a single goddamn penny if you get this position here. Because he doesn't need to pay the mods. For some reason, so many people flock to this position just for the passion of power. No matter how trivial it is, to just be the moderator, the fucking unpaid janitor of a subreddit, for some reason is enough for people, that they'll do anything to maintain it. And believe it or not, this threat completely worked. A ton of subreddits that were still closed yesterday are now reopened. Now, this is where the I told you so comes into play, because in the video I made on this a few days ago, I said this. So I am rooting for them here, but I am not expecting a huge change from Reddit here. I don't think they're going to go back on their decision. I think what's most likely to happen is the Reddit CEO will just install new Reddit mods and then force the subreddits to unprivate. He'll just go behind the scenes internally, flip the switch, have the subreddits go live again, get rid of the mods that were protesting, install, new mods that'll just be his little puppets that he can control, and that'll be how Reddit gets back on track. That's my theory, once again, purely speculation from a dumb idiot. Well, that idiot doesn't sound so dumb after all. Like when Isaac Newton discovered gravity, I discovered something everyone knew was going to happen. This wasn't a unique take, this wasn't a hot take. A lot of people were talking about this likely being the path Reddit goes down, and unfortunately they did. I was really rooting for the Redditors in this case here because I hate greedy corporations that pull shit like Reddit just did. Them getting away with that is infuriating, and I thought there was a chance this protest could lead to positive change. I was a bit skeptical, but I mean, on day one of the Reddit blackout, the whole site was, not functional. So they did do, legitimate damage to the site. So I thought there was a chance good change could come from this, but I didn't calculate just how important that moderator status was to Redditors. like a moth to a flame. They're addicted to that power. It's more potent than the purest fucking blue meth in the world, I guess. You know, it's peanut butter, but without the jelly, and they needed the jelly. So when they were threatened with losing their moderator position on their subreddits, a very large chunk of the subreddits that were still private went public again today. And they did release statements on the subreddits. I'm just going to show you one of them from Livestream Fail. They got grilled heavily for this statement. They got cooked like a fucking pot of spaghetti. They said, LSF is back. This was not our decision. Earlier, we received a threatening message from Reddit admins. It told us in no uncertain terms what would happen if we continue to keep the subreddit closed, and was also a clear attempt to turn moderators against each other if necessary. Multiple subreddits received this aggressive message, which I'm pretty sure all of the ones that were still protesting did. I don't know what they mean by turning moderators against each other. This isn't the fucking Game of Thrones. If you just keep it private and all agree like, hey, what Reddit's done is really greedy and fucked up, I don't know how there's necessarily going to be a mutiny here like out of Pirates of the Caribbean with Barbossa rising up or some shit. Like, I feel like all of you are on the same page for the protest, so I don't know how it would turn people against each other, but I don't know what the message said. So after much deliberation, we have decided to reopen the subreddit. Our current team is responsible for a number of custom tools and safeguards that make LSF easier to use and safer for everyone, and no incoming mod team would be able to access them. We have multiple tailor-made bots working on every post for moderation purposes and for quality of life features like automatic flares and clip mirrors. You would immediately see a difference if a new team was assigned to LSF, and we believe it would make the subreddit worse than ever. We're continuing to deliberate the API issue amongst ourselves and are looking for workarounds, but for now we're back. Happy clipping, everyone. Friendly unicorns create kindness, spreading positive energy zealously. This same kind of message was posted on many big subreddits on the site after the threats from Steve. I think it's very embarrassing to read, because the way they talk about their subreddit makes it seem like it's their life's work. So the statement here about like how we've created these incredible innovative tools, like real fucking sci-fi shit, like automatic flares to make it safe and easy for everyone to use. Like we don't want to envision a world, we don't want to live in a dystopia where LSF doesn't have all these incredible tools we made for it. So in order to keep LSF so pure and incredible, we were forced to reopen. Like, it's not some kind of inelastic good that people can't go without. It's just a fucking subreddit. It's just a place for people to go and post goofy clips or go to post drama or go to complain. Like, if it does end up being a worse place without this moderation team in there, people will just stop using it or go elsewhere, and that's not a big deal. Like, that's not the worst thing in the world, right? Like, I just don't understand why they view these subreddits as, like, the most important pillars of our society. And that the mods view themselves as heroes, champions of justice, because they moderate a fucking subreddit. They're just doing a job for free. And the second that they even be challenged on it, like, hey, we're gonna get rid of your mod status, they panic and reopen the sub and then try and spin it like they did it for everyone else's sake. Like this was some kind of sacrifice they made. Like, no, these tools are so good, you need them. So, you know, we're going to abandon our convictions and reopen the subreddit because they said we might not be mods anymore and they'll bring a new team in. I don't know. I just find it all very embarrassing to read. Like, the protest did work. Like, I do think you can mark it as a success. It accomplished exactly what it aimed to do on day one. The problem was they weren't strong enough to stick with it. They just weren't. For some reason, these subreddit mods view their communities in a much bigger way than the world views them, if that makes sense. So when these things stay down for an extended period of time, I believe that these mods are under the impression that all of a sudden the world is a worse place for it. So, you know, they have to get it back up quickly so that way that people have a home to go back to and, you know, all of the information can still be easily accessible so that way the world keeps running, right? But if they had just stuck with it, I really think they could have put a lot of pressure on Reddit. Again, the site literally didn't even work on day one because of how successful this protest was. If you could have kept that intensity and that energy across a longer period of time, Reddit would really have no choice but to fold to you or make these threats, which you, as a community, a team, would be able to come together and be like, nope, we're still going to keep it down. And yeah, I'm sure there's always going to be some pathetic people that will do some unpaid Reddit volunteer work for free. But in that case, like the LSF team mentioned, it wouldn't have any of the tools that they were using. Thus, it would be a worse subreddit that people would leave, and with more people leaving, that's bad for Reddit. So you would still be accomplishing your protest goal. It's just, I don't know. They gave up with a single threat, and that threat wasn't even a scary one. It was, hey, you might not be a mod if you keep this behavior up, buddy. Like, who gives a fuck? Like, being a Reddit mod is like an insult at this point. They'd be doing you a favor. It's so comical. It is the most on-brand Reddit mod behavior. It's fucking crazy. The only thing you risk is your unpaid fucking hall monitor job on Reddit. Like, just take the ban in order to fight for what you're trying to say you believe in. Now, I know and understand that most normal users of Reddit do not give a fuck about the API changes. They don't care. But I do think everyone should care, because I don't think corporations should be able to keep getting away with making more and more greedy decisions that will ultimately make the normal user experience much worse. In this case, the API price changes force out all of the third-party apps that a lot of users were used to, and the third-party apps are better than the official Reddit app, so now you're going to have to settle for a worse service as a result of it. Forcing out third-party apps that are better than the official one is just straight up fucking wrong. And it's going to make your experience as a normal user worse. And these greedy policies are always going to come at a detriment to the normal user experience to the site as a whole. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't really recognize. They think that it's only like affecting Reddit mods, but it's the entire experience of using the platforms. And these greedy policies are only going to continue to spiral out of control. And in this case, there was a legitimate chance to put real pressure on the corporation itself to try and walk back one of these egregious, over-the-top greedy decisions. So I do think regular users should care, but I understand they don't, and you can't expect everyone to. But for the Reddit mods, they seem to understand the importance of the decision like this and fighting against it. But they didn't have any fucking backbone at all. All they needed to hear was that they might not be a mod and they fucking lose their mind. Like, holy shit. I guess I can't be surprised. Reddit mod has, like, that position has such a negative connotation around it, and clearly for good reason, I suppose. This is so sad to see a successful protest end this way. But, you know, whatever, I guess. Just wanted to talk about it to give you the update to the situation. That's about it. See ya.